everybody, and welcome back to The Hole in the World, an actual play of Monty Cook Games' Invisible Sun RPG. I am, as always, your GM, otherwise known as Zach, otherwise known as The Great Samino. Use he, him pronouns, and we are joined by one fewer cast members, one less cast member today. Marcy is rejoining us next week, next episode, as she is returning from California today, and will be available at that later date. Give her a little bit of time to rest and recover. But in the meantime, let's pick up our normal intros with moving down the overlay. Bill, if you'd like to introduce yourself and who you are and what you're all about.
Hey everybody, happy Invisible, what I'm all about. Oh man. I was gonna say happy Invisible Sunday. Well, I'm just taking over Marcy's like screw up the intro thing. So it's fine.
Well, to be fair, she's usually not the one screwing it up.
If that's some veiled criticism of me.
I'm Bill, and you can find me on Discord under the handle Ghost Bike. And I'm playing Maurice Webb, a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality.
Awesome. Moving over to the other side, Hopper, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Oh, well, that's me. What's up? I'm Hopper. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a professional game master and professional arborist based out of Brooklyn, New York. I am the channel's resident dumpster fire, here to bring you just some real glorious dumpster fireage. Tonight, I guess if you want to follow me, you can find Bad Hot Takes under Fail Deadly, that is with a 3 instead of an E, or you can follow my actual content that I produce under The Legend Tree. On Twitch, that's with underscores for some godforsaken reason, instead of spaces. Anyways, tonight I will be playing Twigg, the gallant mendicant apostate who heralds beginnings. That's the other one.
There we go.
Wait, sorry, mendicant gallant apostate.
You got it. You did it. You got it. You just you just did the switcheroonie. I
just scrolled back up and looked, but.
And finally, last but not least, rounding out our misfit trio this week, Marissa, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Marissa, she, her pronouns for both me and my character. I also go by Critical Kitten with various punctuation here and there around the internet. And speaking of my character, I play Kyrrie von Hollingsworth, the first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance. She is an aromatic stoic who understands the words, guardian of Zaleska's grimoire, curator of King Nine's library, and recently witness to strange sights in glass trees. Last time, Kyrrie got her nemesis and her sovereign pulled in succession on the lovely deck, so that's a big Kyrrie mood. Don't know what that mood really is yet, but interested to find out.
Either way, it's hashtag vibes. Okay, so guys, really excited for all of us to be back. I will go ahead and start putting on some very familiar music for us as we recap what has transpired in the previous episode. So, lots happened. When last we met our Vizsla, they had just found their way into the liminal space of the Vespertine HQ in the Silver Sun. Inside an extra-dimensional suitcase, they found a few items of interest, a copious amount of money, several nasty-looking ephemera, and the angel Gallia Manades, who had been abducted and fused to the earthen floor of this extra-dimensional facility. After a thorough investigation that ended with them taking the suitcase for their own use, the Vizsla freed Gallia Manades and returned to the court of Queen Frageliva. Upon learning that Secretan the Atelier was being kept in the palace dungeon on suspicion of assisting the Vespertine, Gallia Manades quickly begged for clemency from the queen for his friend. While the queen deliberated, the Vizsla browsed the shops of the city on the hill, finding a children's literature and game store to feed Twig and sate the curiosity of the other Vizsla, but only after encountering an outcast angel on the city streets. With a number of purchases in tow, the Vizsla quickly stopped in a poetry shop to find the work of Calliamanades, which disturbingly discussed the importance of endings to give meaning to immortal lives. Acting on a suspicion, Gabrielle questioned Calliamanades to determine if he had had a hand in the Vespertine's operation. She quickly arrived at the conclusion that while blameless for the work of the spies, the angel's musings on mortality gave the Vespertine a perfect opportunity to twist him into a tool to use against Queen Frageliva and her guardians. Back at the palace, the Vizsla heard the queen's final judgment. Seemingly heeding the requests of both Kyrrie and Calliamanades, the queen of the angels removed Secretan from his duty as the guardian of the city on the hill and freed him from the obligation that had bound him for centuries. Floating onto the hand of his friend, Secretan and Calliamanades left the court to start their lives anew. And it's following the events of this judgment that we will resume the story of the hole in the world. So, let me change up the music a little bit.
Looks like Nightbot is drunk.
Oh no! What? I changed that. Hey, Sir Raphael. Don't mind the Nightbot, guys. It is, in fact, the hole in the world that is going to be on momentarily. So, anyhow, picking up where we left off, one of the things that you guys receive as you are staying in the apartments of the kind of diplomatic quarters of the Silver Sun in the palace of Queen Frageliva is a small handwritten note, which basically reads directly from Gavrielle that she has gone inside the extra-dimensional valise, that all of you are to stay out for your own safeties as she works to remove any kind of magical sensors or surveillance that the Vespertine had implanted into the valise, as well as any curses that may come up within this liminal space. So all of you in the apartment find yourselves short 1 Gav, but up 1 liminal valise. But my question is, with this kind of understanding, what does the day after Queen Frageliva's judgment look like? What is everybody up to?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is refresh my spell pools.
We'll do that also.
I was going to say, if you guys would like to go ahead and do that, you may certainly do so. You did basically spend the night kind of doing no activity, getting some rest, I'm assuming, unless you wanted to have accomplished some additional kind of action over the course of that night. So all of your spells should be refilled and you should have all 4 rest actions back.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I have a space for an ephemera. Yes, I can have up to 3.
Okay. Are you asking to draw a card or incantation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Twig is still incredibly bemused by the process by one which does this. Like, it's a very strange experience. But Nightbot's on mana mornings now.
What? Okay, that hasn't existed for forever. I'm gonna fix that. Okay.
We don't know what show this is.
I have a feeling somebody's tampering with this. But anyhow, yeah. So actually, this is a very good question. What does, like, when Twig communes with the actuality, what does it look like as you search and find this incantation in your meditation? What does this kind of process look like for you?
I think it's I don't know that Twig meditates as such. I think that Twig is constantly moving. like just some sort, even in rest, like even in like this kind of relaxation, just fiddling with something, tinkering with something, poking things to see what they are, making little scribbles. I think we're back in the city of angels, as it were, on the city on the hill, right?
Yes, you are.
I feel like Twig's been like kind of prying around with some various strange little items and just kind of marveling at the breadth of these angels' creativity and noticing some reoccurring themes and patterns that seem to be pretty esoteric and strange. I think it's less of a meditation and more of a obsessive analysis of the surroundings.
So what kind of observations do you think Twig is pulling here?
I think what Twig notices is that everything seems slightly off, but there is everything, but it's not because everything's off, it's because there's the rules of this place do not match the rules of the gray. Like, the things are different because there are so many different sets of rules all competing and warring and maybe predating on each other. Like, what is true is a much more malleable concept, and what defines truth, what defines the rigidity of the universe, is much more plastic here.
Yeah, I think that it's in this moment as you begin pondering about the beginnings of things and like where, like the chicken and the egg kind of questions that kind of prevail here. There is something that as you are, meditating on this and kind of like, I think walking and thinking, I think that you just hear in the back of your mind a very delicate woman's voice, almost like whispering in your ear, "The world is a spell." And with that, there is this almost breakthrough that you receive, wherein you receive the following incantation: "The hour is thin." It's almost like this eureka moment that kind of suffuses your awareness. This, like, everything has a beginning. But what does it mean if the world is a spell? If actuality is a spell, what does the beginning of that look like?
Very strange. Is this an incantation?
That is an incantation. Yeah. I've popped that into the chat for you.
Thank you. All right. I think Twig, over the next little bit here, is just roaming around very restless. This palace, this castle, this keep, this literal collection of ivory towers and mad design and just weird little angel people with fucked up eyes and too many eyes. The fact that something that was said to them by Secretan is still rubbing them very, very wrong. And that's that when they were last here, they wore a different body, or they were a different person, maybe, unclear, but that they were there to work for the angels.
Okay.
And it felt bad.
By the way, where are you wandering around? Is this just kind of outside the palace on the streets where you kind of were touring around for the shops? Like, where in the city are you trying to find yourself?
I think relatively close to the palace at first, and then kind of spiraling outwards, trying to find I don't want to say soul of the city, but find the its fingerprints.
I will tell you this. You actually realize that if you were to use like scent of magic and to kind of like sense where the beginning of this city was, it was at the temple tower of the Al Rustam. So in fact, if you are kind of like trying to gather the sense of it, you're almost kind of like ambulating around it to kind of like get the sense of its enormity. While you are doing this, what are Kyrrie and Maurice up to?
I think Maurice, I think maybe saw Twig leave and knew that was a thing that Twig needed some space, and I think Maurice weaved together speech with wind and heart with interaction, and communicated a little bit with Gav inside the valise, and came up with a system in which the valise would kind of pop open if Gav needed anything, if Gav was in trouble. And he has absolutely taken it upon himself to be the safekeeper of this valise, and keeping it very naturally as if he had always had this bag with him. He also is going to receive an invocation.
Okay.
I think in Saturnine, it always comes at him like a stray thought, like the actuality is just kind of rudely intruding. And I think the way it's different here is it's almost like it's coming at him backwards, from the opposite direction, underneath. It's still just as sudden and unbidden, but as if he were facing upside down and turned around.
Okay. Excellent. I am going to go ahead and ask the universe which one you get. Okay. Ooh, actually. You get this one. You feel kind of like as you are meditating and thinking upon things and upon the actuality, you hear the whisper of the incantation's name in your head. Sleep claims no king.
Sick. I think Maurice is still in the apartments. I think he is finding different things to play fetch with Duncan with, and then maybe putting them back as they get a little bit too chewed up, and he thinks that they look a bit too nice to play with, and is definitely leaving space for Kyrrie to be social or not, as much as she likes.
Yeah, Kyrrie, what are you getting up to here?
Yeah, I think Kyrrie has been thinking quite a bit about the results of the judgment. And I think as she has done, something has kind of been niggling at the back of her mind, and that's this sort of moment of humanity that she witnessed in Queen Frageliva when she was watching Galimenedes basically beg her to let Secretan live. And I think there's been something about that's just been that she's kind of been sitting with, particularly in context of how they last left their words prior to going to the Forest of Measures. So I think Kyrrie is interested in seeking out an audience with the Queen. I think she has some things she wants to clear with Frageliva.
Absolutely. And I think what what this kind of like looks like is Duncan just starts barking at the door of your apartments, and each of you hear in your ears his kind of transmogrified speech of somebody's coming, somebody new. Also, I need to use the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? And then as soon as you start hearing the end of the barking, you hear a rap on the door. What do you guys do?
Maurice kind of picks up Duncan like a man that's never held a baby before, kind of like straight out, like, wait, you have to go to the bathroom? That's never happened before. And kind of starts, and Kyrrie, can you get that? And starts looking for a place for no idea what's going to happen here.
Yeah, and I think you just hear another bark in your ear. I think probably it's like a soft, like kind of bark or growl. And you hear in your ears, particularly Maurice, I feel weird. And that is when, Kyrrie, if you open the door, standing in front of you once again is your angelic guide, Akarian.
Oh, Akarian. Is there anything we can do for you?
Yes, I was sought to seek you out in the event that you still wished to meet with the Sterling, the maker here on the grounds of this palace. Unless, of course, there's anything else you need in terms of sightseeing or perhaps touring the city on the hill, I am, per the Queen's commands, at your disposal.
Right. Well, I think in first order, we might need a place for a dog to use the bathroom. She looks
Too
back at
late!
Maurice. Perhaps not any longer.
Yeah, you just hear a soft bark. Oh no. And Okarian kind of like, I think, arches one of these owl like eyebrows kind of like from the source of that, and just looks back and says, it's fine, we'll have one of the Divine Guard come to clean. But yes, certainly if that's no longer a factor, how else can I help you?
Well, and I think, again, she looks back at Maurice. I think there were some among our party who would like to see the Sterling. I, for one, I had hoped perhaps Queen Frageliva had an opening on her agenda today. There's something I'd like to speak with her about, but I know she's very busy, and so I thought maybe I would ask you.
Well, I can certainly try to help in any way that I can. I do believe that a boon, our own kind of personal boon, might be owed to you for the mercy that was shown Secretan. I have a feeling that you and the others were a great deal responsible for that. So let me see if I can help you. Walk with me, if you will. And that owl-headed angel turns and kind of begins kind of walking while waiting for you to see if you will join him.
I think Kyrrie looks back at Maurice. Are you interested in seeing the Sterling?
Maurice walks forward, kind of scratching his head. It's like, I honestly don't know what we need. Maybe I'll see if Twig can join me and help me out with that. You go ahead.
Okay. We'll meet back here later this afternoon.
Sure. See ya.
And
then I think, yeah, she'll walk off with Akarian then.
Absolutely. And I think Akarian kind of leads you down the familiar path back to the throne room. And as you're kind of like winding along, he is kind of humming himself to himself a tune that actually you realize is a little bit harmonically discordant within your mortal ears. It's almost like the sound of like a wind chime that is also kind of having modifying in several oscillating across octaves. And then not too long after he starts, you guys find yourself outside the door of the throne room, at which point he just looks to you and says, just wait one moment here. And the door cracks open with the aid of two of the Divine Guards guarding it. He is gone for maybe about a minute before you see his head poke back out of the door and just say, come in. Yes, absolutely. I think we can arrange for some time.
Kyrrie will absolutely follow.
And yeah, at which point Ocarian leads you in front of a familiar sight, the 40-foot tall Queen Frageliva, the monarch of the angelic host of the Silver Sun, and she looks once again down expectantly at the two of you with silver glowing eyes. And Ocarian says, Your Majesty, once again, Gabrielle von Hollingsworth, the member of the Order of the Vance and the Visley Savior, one of several of the city on the hill. And at which point she nods and he looks to you and just says, and kind of vanishes through the door once again.
I think Kyrrie will curtsy, as is perhaps expected in the throne room when Queen Frageliva is seated upon her throne. And she will say, My queen, I apologize for the intrusion. I had hoped perhaps to speak with you to resolve something.
And
I exchanged words with you before we left for the Forest of Measures. They were in haste, and I'm sorry.
Your apology is noted.
Not
Oh.
accepted.
And accepted.
Begrudgingly?
She cocks her eyes at you again. And I think just kind of tilts her head and doesn't offer a reply.
You will pardon the moment of analysis, my queen. I saw you with Gallimonedes before the judgment. It was very quick. You are very skilled at disguising it. But your eyes flashed bright and not with silver. I could have sworn they were tears. Are you all right?
In what sense do you ask?
Well, in a very mortal sense, I suppose. How do you feel? Do you feel all right?
Once again, you ask many a presumptuous question. You assume that the feelings of an angel, let alone the Queen of Angels, is scrutable to one of a mortal inclination such as yourself.
I try not to. It is difficult, my queen, because I know what you speak of. I like to think my emotions are inscrutable too. I'm no queen, but I don't understand my emotions most of the time. That does not change the fact that I have them.
What is to be gained from learning of any emotional state on my part?
You have a job, a role here. You are an authority, a commander. That means you make decisions every day. You meter out truth and justice. You deal in big concepts that are, no insult, of course, bigger than you, even. They are bigger than any one being, and you are responsible for them. That must get tiring after centuries, eons.
I fulfill my function, as was bade me by the Al Rustam itself.
And yet, from what I know of the Al Rustam, in briefly touching it while defending it, I don't think it would want you to erase yourself in your duty. After all, your selfhood is part of what makes your decision-making powerful. It is what allows you to have mercy.
While your intentions are no doubt beneficent in intention, while I find this line of questioning, this line of conversation, very, once again, presumptuous. You do much to wonder about the responsibilities of a being that has existed for eons, where you have existed for mere decades, if more than two.
Yet the current runs strong in me. You said that. I don't know what it means, but perhaps it gives me the ability to ask these questions and to not presume, but rather to be the first to ask them of you in your long tenure. After all, when you're a powerful being, people normally want something from you. They don't think about the person wielding the power. And therefore, I reiterate my question. Are you all right?
In light of the attempts on the Al-Rustam, I find myself calculating, thinking, strategizing, pondering the intentions of our enemies, the plans with which they seek to gain advantage on against my host and myself. Who else could their targets be? What else could they muster in force to undertake the downfall of the Silver Sun? My mind is always now at work, pondering these questions, and yet outside of this realm, my means of divining this information are limited. I find myself relying on external agents, ones not unlike yourselves. These are the things that I am pondering. These questions are those that I consider. Do you...
Sounds like a great intellectual feat. And I must say, you sound very much like my sister. She too thinks in stratagems. She too preoccupied with so much thought and very little feeling. And that's why I'm curious. I have a hypothesis, and no doubt you will think this presumptuous too, but I believe you saw something of yourself in Gallimides and Secretan's love, and that its strength resonated with you, the great Queen of Angels. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that, because I don't think anyone else will ever ask you.
And she leans back and she ponders. And she looks at you not with this harsh silver light that would suffuse your being and allow her to see the truth of you. You just find this moment where it seems like that gaze has turned inward. And finally, in a voice not unlike a mortal's, you hear clear as a bell her words in your ears. You ask of my consort. What more is there that needs to be said, other than that I lost him?
Are you lonely, Queen of Angels?
It is always lonely for those who sit a throne. Those...
May I say his name, or would you rather I not?
If you were to say the true name of my consort, I would hope that you would have the honor, the status, and the power to speak it without reducing yourself to ash, for it is a powerful name, and not a small boon that I granted you.
No. I saw the other boons, and though they were great, I feel the power of a word. It is my forte. I understand. Words and names are but words. At the end of the day, they communicate identity. And this identity is powerful.
And what would you do with this knowledge? Or should I regret granting you this boon?
I would hope you wouldn't regret it. I merely wanted, as I said, to give you space to speak about it if you want to. You said you lost him. What happened?
The Silver Sun, I believe, not unlike many other realms in the actuality, found itself, not long after its inception, encircled by the dark, creatures of the night side that would attempt make incursions into this our anointed realm. Many such incursions were attempted, many such assaults, and yet, with the help of myself and Secretan, my consort was able to repel many. And yet, one final assault occurred on the foot of the summit of Tuak Tur, wherein my beloved fought one such creature, enormous in its hunger, in its magnitude, in its malevolence. And whilst I watched, he sacrificed himself for the good of this realm, for perhaps the good of the entire actuality, repelling this creature, killing it, and ending its existence, forcing it back into the whole of the world in which it came. And only once this aperture was sealed would he allow himself to falter and kneel and die, before even my tears could reach him. And in failing to find purchase upon his corpse, they instead created a copse of trees from which many flowers grew. But then, you knew of this already.
Knew of the flowers, but I did not know of him or of what you experienced. There is no way to get him back. He did not go to the Pale.
He has gone to the night side of the Pale, a place of despair and longing and pain. And would you not, of course, know that Empress Shalad, she is incorrigible in her defiance of my want and my need. She refuses passage, as she refused then, passage into her realm that I might see my beloved. And so instead, I redoubled my efforts to safeguard this realm. In a guardian of the night side, I found Ravenal, the most voracious of the Sun Wardens. Working with Tharim, we set this mindless beast in charge of safeguarding the Silver Sun, that edge that looks out onto the abyss of the dark. And with that creature's awful help, I have helped safeguard once again this realm such that no other creature as awful as that which slew my beloved could ever find a means of traveling here. I owe you a great deal for safeguarding us against the plots of these Vizsla trash that attempted to destroy this realm, sunder it once again, and to overtake Ravenel. But my boons only go so far, and your questions probe very deeply. Is your curiosity sated, little Vizsla?
I think Kyrrie would like to approach the throne, so she's standing level with Frageliva. Should Frageliva permit it?
It's going to be very hard to stand level with her, but you may approach the throne.
Yes. No, I mean, yeah, not in height, just in, like, they're on the same, I imagine her throne is kind of raised a little bit. The whole power dynamic relationship thing. Kyrrie looks at her. Your role here, what you do, is very noble. And I'm not sure if enough Vizsla or angels or any other kind of creature thank you. It is not my curiosity that prompts me to ask these questions. I am curious, I admit. But I've seen what pure intellect can do as a force within oneself, such that it subsumes identity. It is an easy way to mask pain. And I think your story has a lot of pain in it. I don't claim to know everything about this. I couldn't. I'm but one Vizsla, as you say. You are an ancient being who has seen much, endured much. But I would like to help. I am already seeking a lost love in the Pale. Not mine, but a good friend. Almost a father figure to me. He doesn't even remember her. And, well, it would be very arrogant of me indeed to think that I could persuade Empress Jalad of something you yourself could not, but I would like to try to get him back for you, if not just to allow you to say goodbye. Everyone should have that.
And she considers again. Then you would know my gratitude. And I feel a great reward.
Everything is a transaction, my queen. It need not be undertaken for a price. Sometimes things are just the right thing to do.
I'd like you to make me an interaction roll, and I'm going to turn a card.
100%. I will add a sortilege to this. And a bene.
I have turned a card. It is the Driver, which is the defender of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. Its meanings are impetuous, travel, forward motion, and speed. Always moving forward. Sometimes there is no other recourse than to simply get away. Escape is often the best option, and the best escape is a quick one. Like a shark, the Driver can never stop moving. She's always racing ahead, always moving forward, making sudden, abrupt turns down new avenues without warning. They say that it's not the destination that's important, it's the trip. Well, if that's true, the Driver does it best, because ultimately she has no destination in mind. It's never the point. The point is speed, motion, and the ability to change one's mind from second to second, and yet do so fluidly and flawlessly. The Driver is the defender of the Mysteries family. She protects by enabling others to get away. She carries them to safety, always moving forward. Okay. An impetuous...
Kyrrie is defender.
Yep. The PC moves faster than normal in a crucial moment. An impetuous decision on the PC's part results in astonishing success. What, again, of Queen Frageliva do you see as this humanity kind of once again surfaces in her eyes, in her expression? What does she do as you successfully argue for yourself to take on this task?
I think there's something in her posture that she, as a queen, as this imposing, tall figure glowing of brightest silver, I think she always sits and stands ramrod straight, as befits her station, as befits someone of this kind of authority and regality, as befits a commander, someone who has to always be on. And I think what Kyrrie sees is that her shoulders just detense a little bit. They just relax, as though for just a second, some of that very heavy burden that she bears is lifted.
And in addition, she reflects to you the truth, or a part of it is reflected in this conversation as she sits back and her silver eyes grow half-lidded. You have the distinct impression, perhaps in your mind's eye, perhaps communicated through some sort of magic, you get the feeling of you that you are having this conversation with a woman looking at you directly into your eyes, making eye contact, talking as if she were to a friend. If you were to do this, it would mean a great deal to me, and I would be most grateful. Is this intention? Are you sure that it does not put you too much into harm's way? Is this truly an undertaking that you would do for one such as I?
Yes.
Then I call you friend, Gabrielle von Hollingsworth of the Vance, and I look forward to the next time we meet. And just like that, that moment of a woman standing beside you leaves, and again, the eyes open, silver light shining down. And she
Yeah.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that is Kyrie's sort of cue to kind of back down. Like as they're finishing this interaction, I think she is returning to her place in this scene, her supplicants before a great queen of power.
As you do that, I would like you to once again make sure that you have done that interaction roll. We'll see if there's anything else that you get here.
Six and a 9 on the dice.
Okay. So, as you kind of back out of the throne room, you have this moment you realize where you have gained a little bit of a hidden knowledge, as you have understood something about the nature of angels, that many of them pretend or perhaps give off the air that they are less fallible beings, less fallible entities. But between your interaction with Gallia Menades and this moment of unguarded, candid emotion, you realize that there are these kind of almost human-like qualities and emotions that also attach themselves to these angels, or that perhaps they personify or even harbor, they are not mortal. They're not human. They don't have the same workings that you or your friends do. But there is this sensibility that you realize may be universal in many of the creatures that have this intelligence, that live throughout the actuality, and the angels are no different. Take a point of hidden knowledge as you leave the throne room.
And I think as Kyrrie leaves, a smile finds its way onto her face, and she's beaming, thinking that perhaps she is the first true friend of the Queen of Angels.
Excellent. So, Maurice and Twigg, have you guys found each other yet? Or Twigg, are you working to make your way around the Al Rustam, or kind of to continue surveying the city on the hill?
I'll say that Maurice kind of thumbs his testament and reaches out telepathically to Twigg and says, so I am off to see, what was the name? The Sentinel, the whatever. I'm doing all the shopping and I am by myself. So if you don't want me to screw this up, boy, I could use your help.
Can I respond?
I was.
You can respond. I can hear you. It's telepathy. You're just thinking out loud.
This is totally normal. Twigs just kind of like looks around and is trying not to mouth along to the words. Still not great at the whole telepathy speaking thing. What makes you think I would be better than you at buying stuff in a magic store?
We can convince each other that our own opinions and instincts are stupid, right? Like I could make a really bad choice and then you could be like, what? And I'd be like, you're right. That's bad. I need your help.
Reverse echo chamber?
Exactly. Like writing partners, but just like shooting down bad ideas.
I can shoot things.
That's why I need you.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not entirely clear where I'm at.
Oh yeah. Let me whip something up. And I'm sure I've got some sort of thing I can weave.
Yeah, absolutely. You've decided to do this. You tell me how you're doing it.
I the weaving. Okay, I'm gonna do weather and relationships. This is nuts. I'm going to create a little cloud of rain.
Okay.
That's gonna form, and it's gonna be like nice, like misty, like Seattling rain. And it will appear over Twigg, and if Twigg goes away from the path that Twigg needs to go to get there, it will go on him. But if Twig's going in the right way, then it will kind of be like right in front of him. So it can follow this cloud to like get to me. If it's going to follow to me.
Yeah, you have a sudden little rain cloud that seems to be it's that weird Truman Show thing where it just is raining
100%.
And then kind of like it kind of follows you to make sure it's raining on the right area. Twigg, what do you do?
I guess I follow my own personal wet towel. I think Twigg is just kind of like awkward. Does it normally rain on the Silver Sun?
Oh yeah, I mean the Silver Sun has weather. It has kind of the sky and there are clouds. But at the same time, it's very unusual to have it so localized. And I think a few other angels are kind of like looking as you're walking past, and other denizens of the Silver Sun are just kind of like murmuring to each other and kind of pointing at the cloud overhead. And I think you just hear somebody is just like, is this? Yeah, Fizzley. Oh, okay. All All right. And there's just kind of like a nodded understanding of, oh, those guys. Okay, understood. That makes sense.
I love that it's not even like, oh, these motherfuckers. It's, no, it's those guys.
Yeah. And
It's like, it's the emotional equivalent of somebody playing music way too loud, but it's like pretty chill, good music. You know what I mean? Like
it's like
totally
the
fits
best
vibe.
elevator music you've ever heard.
Yeah, like it's still obnoxious, but at least it's like you're just like, I can deal with this.
excellent.
I'm
And
gonna call this a level 3 effect. Does that sound fair?
I'd say this is a level 3. You're not
Okay.
summoning a tempest here, so
Okay.
I as a player still do not understand weavers, and I don't think I ever will.
I, as a player, don't understand weavers.
Yeah, so you guys you meet up, and I think that one of the things that Okarian would have told you, or at least relayed, is that you were to meet the Sterling in the forges of the Variskal, which would be actually some distance, like kind of like almost like a adjacent building to the palace, which seems to be just kind of like this large kind of silver forge, out of which is belching kind of like white smoke and kind of like plumes of strange smells that kind of like verge towards lavender and towards at the same time lemon and vanilla, and at the same time as like fresh air. So I think that, you guys find yourselves, the rain cloud kind of following just to your spot with you and Duncan in tow, Maurice and Twig. I think a little damply you meet up with Maurice.
Oh wow, that worked.
I mean, technically, yeah. So we're meeting the Starlin, huh?
Yeah. Are we like, we're outside this space? Like there's a door to knock on?
Yeah, I think actually it's less that there's a door to knock on. There is just the sound of work that is being undertaken, and it is echoing through this very large kind of archway. It's almost like if you think of like a smithery or even like a stable, but just so much larger. It just seems like there's just a lot of activity echoing out from inside this facility.
I'm going to use a forte.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call object from story.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 2 hard hats with the Jurassic Park logo on them. And I give one to Twig and put one on. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Excellent. Yeah, you guys now have a pair of
Sorry, I'm trying to remember what year Jurassic Park came out.
1995.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that, like, what's up? Why does this have a dinosaur on it?
Oh, Michael Crichton.
And?
He's an author. Wrote a book. Jurassic Park became a movie. Look, do you want a different hard hat? I can get it from any store you want.
You know what? Whatever. This one's fine.
It is. I know. I made it.
As you guys, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is fine.
As you guys make your way into this large forge, you guys are greeted by the sight of these large kind of creatures. You realize that almost every creature that you have encountered thus far in the Silver Sun is an angel of some sort. However, the Variskal, as you kind of soon come to realize, you see these very large 8 feet tall kind of figures that very clearly do not have heads, but instead what they do is they have like these kind of like eyes that are on the kind of pectoral muscles. And these are very kind of like androgynous asexual figures where basically these eyes are looking out and there's like a thin line right across kind of like the middle of this torso that remains pursed, but there's also kind of these very neat, almost like tattoo-like colorations and designs etched upon these their forms. And these lines, as they are etched, you realize they are emitting little bits of light. They're very kind of intricate in their design, but also moving among them very quickly. You see a number of people about your size moving very quickly, just kind of ducking to and fro in what looks to be kind of like these workman's smocks, people of all varieties. And you realize that these are Vizsla that are just winding their way through these Varascal, and some of these Varascal are like hammering on forges, others are carrying materials up towards this kind of central kind of room, at which point you see somebody looking through a kind of like a jeweler's lens at some work, kind of like overlooking the shoulder of several people working. And as you're making your way down these stables, you realize that they're not stables. They're these little kind of cubbies that are each the size of a pretty modestly sized room, that are in fact the homes of several makers in each case, where they're almost like little working laboratories. There's a number of bits of material. There are numbers of kind of like tools and implements through which they're working. Some of them are weaving with actual cloth. Some of them are working with metal. Others are kind of like pulling filaments of jewels together and kind of making these thin, very nicely woven chains. It's a cornucopia of actual craftsmanship on display. And that one figure that you guys glimpse down the center hall in this kind of like central area, you see is just clad in kind of like silver lined and azure cloth, like this kind of like very majestic looking cape. And you hear him bellow out, "All right, time for the Atelier. Everybody come forward." And that is when you see all of the Vizsla that have been working in these corrals begin kind of surging forward, and all of you and both of you get kind of pushed forward as these people are kind of making their way up to this central area, which is, you realize, where a number of fine implements and works are on display. What do you guys do? Do you kind of fight the crowd? Do you kind of roll with? What are you guys thinking?
I think Maurice yells to Twig to grab Duncan, so Duncan doesn't get stampeded.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Twig definitely scoops up Duncan like a baby. Like, you know, like paws and toe beans to the sky.
Absolutely. Excellent. And as you guys are you've scooped up baby Duncan, and Duncan's, I think at that point, was just barking, and both of you hear, hey, as like he's being kind of pushed around. And then once you've scooped him up, you just hear, "Oh, hi." And then you kind of move with the tide. I think Maurice is kind of like hugging the valise close, making sure it doesn't get knocked away. Yeah, absolutely. And I think all of you guys make your way up to this kind of atelier studio in which this one central figure is holding court. At which point, all right, class, we have a very great opportunity. And as you get closer, you see this really very slim, kind of transgressing, effeminate figure that is basically just very well manicured and very kind of like holding court, and also at the same time very kind of like authoritatively commanding this class of people that are watching rapt as he kind of makes kind of eyes around all of the work that's on display. So, as a result of the commissions, who has a number of things that they wish to show? And you see two Vizsla kind of move forward. Great, Talia, Roderick, please put your work on display. And now, as all of you recall, the assignment was to craft an item that could repel mental compulsion. Would all of you, would Roderick, Talia, would you each kind of discuss your findings and your work? And Roderick, this kind of very slim figure, moves forward, kind of a little bit wiry, and sheepishly he looks and says, "Well, this is an object of power that I've crafted. I call it the Circlet of Agency. Yes, you can place this upon your forehead, and it will grant you a ability to perhaps repel some of these interceding mental forces. Interesting. And what did you make with the inset stone there? Oh, yes, I used a little bit of the color crimson, and I mixed it in with some very fine glasswork. Ah, interesting. Any defects that I should know of? Not insofar as I was able to muster here. That said, I haven't worn it. What do we say about practicum and praxis above all? Very well, I will take it back to research. A fine first effort. Talia. Oh yes, this is a diamond of mental acuity. It's only an ephemera object, Master Chikere, but it's very effective. It absolutely cancels a single effect that would otherwise mandate the control of one person through some sort of like extra spell-like means. Interesting. And this woman is very confident after seeing the work that Roderick has put forward. Interesting, but only the single use. Yes, but very powerful. I'll take this into consideration. We will bring it before our clients, but both of you, good work. All right, Atelier, dismissed. Continue this level of work. Let it inspire you. And these kind of like closed ranks of very precocious students of varying degrees of expertise kind of like disperse and leave. At which point, the Sterling, Varuna Chikere, he turns and looks to all of you and just says, so, how did you find my students' work? I presume that you are here to examine it for yourselves.
Yes. Hello. I'm Maurice. Nice to meet you. Extends out a hand.
They call me the Sterling, but please call me Varuna. I am very happy to make your acquaintance, and you are. And he looks to you, Twig.
So Twig, who is still currently holding Duncan like a baby, with toe beans to the sky, just kind of just says, this is Duncan.
Yes. Hello, Duncan. And he just shakes the paw of this animal very gently and gingerly. And you are?
Oh, me. Hey, what's up? Twig. Well, no. Goes to raise a hand, realizes he's cradling a dog like a baby because Duncan's such a sweetie. And
I think I'm gonna say at this moment, Duncan does the thing where dogs just kind of freak out a little bit and get themselves out.
They react to Duncan flailing around, and they're just like and let Duncan drop, and just kind of pulls the jacket, like tries to be very cool about the fact that they did not expect to be talked to so directly by such a weird group of people, and definitely didn't just drop a dog tulpa on the ground.
At which point you just hear a bark. Hey, gentle, hey. And the Sterling kind of arches an eyebrow and looks at both of you. You know, it's my understanding that I owe you, as well as all of my students, owe you a great deal of gratitude.
Oh, well, I mean, nothing we wouldn't have done anyway, but it was real dicey there, huh?
Oh.
Maurice looks to Twig.
Yeah, we definitely almost all died.
Yeah.
Or worse. Worse, I think, actually. Worse.
Yeah.
Worse.
You ever heard of the Vespertine?
And he is going to kind of scrunch his brow together, and I'm going to turn a card. This is the Eternal Mountain, which accentuates green and de-accentuates pale. Its meanings are unchanging, solitude, memory, and eternal or long life. And I think with that solitude, no, mostly I just stay here in the workshop. What what is a Vespertine?
Real bad terrorist type, nihilist.
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah.
Why would people in all of the actuality not care about nothing, but attempt to also be a terrorist? It doesn't make a great deal of sense, does it?
No, I mean, you try and think about how this makes sense, you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
I have more important things to think about,
Yeah.
as do my students.
Is
About
it terrorism if it's not political? They just kind of want everything to die. I don't know that that's necessarily a political point of view, huh?
you should ask Kyrrie about that.
Huh.
What do you call that? I guess they're a death cult.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose so. Look, I mean, not here to bore you with the semantics of death cults, Mr. Sterling, Mrs. Sterling. Sorry, I'm just talking. The point is, I think you have some things that were commissioned for us, but they're not actually for us. So I don't. I mean, the person who ordered them is not here. So I mean, I think they look okay.
Well, this is a strange set of circumstances then. If you're here for the things, but they're not here for you, we find ourselves at an impasse.
Right. Should I come back later? This was the one thing I was supposed to do today.
It seems to me that you are part of a coherent unit, and I'm sure that Ocarian would not have advised you to come here if you weren't to be trusted. So
and Maurice kind of pulls back, his head and kind of scratches, showing off the prominent silver mark of the queen on his hand now. And it's like, well, I mean, we all got boons from the queen. Here's mine. And this was someone else's boon. They're busy right now. And holds up the valise and says, extra dimensional space.
As you show, I think both of, at this point with the hand and with the valise, he grabs your hands and begins kind of examining both of these things at the same time. Oh, that is fine craftsmanship. The queen's, I assume.
I assume as well.
Yes. Oh, excellent. Wow. Oh, you can really just barely see the filaments of the enchantment here. That is fascinating.
Zach, while all of this is going on, and no, Bill, keep your hands right where they were.
No, thanks.
God damn it. I would like to. I think Twig wants to give a little snuffle, snorkel, and cast Scent of Magic.
Absolutely.
I want to know what this dude smells like.
This dude, as you cast Scent of Magic, what's very interesting is as you pick it up, your senses are overwhelmed by the sheer amount of enchantment and craft that is going into the work around you. This is like maker magic. So oftentimes they're just boasting many different facets, many different functions. You're just overwhelmed by the scent of all of these different things. But the thing that's very interesting to you is that the sterling is not as covered with residue as a lot of the other makers are. It seems to be like a much kind of like fainter kind of trail, as if it seems like the sterling is not working directly with the magic himself.
Just overseeing, judging, teaching.
It would seem that that is the case.
Well,
Sorry, what card was that? Was it the Eternal Mountain?
The Eternal Mountain.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
What do you
Sooth deck stresses me out.
What do you do with this knowledge, Twig?
I think just files that away for future notice.
And at which point, you just see the sterling pulls the other hand holding the valise to one in front of him, and he kind of like takes this monocle out of this pocket inside of his cape, and he affixes it to his eye. Oh, that's well, that's a lot less refined than our queen's work, but it does seem to do a serviceable job. This is an extra dimensional space, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Maurice kind of yanks his arms back. Yes, it is. It's currently classified, is what it is.
Classified.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, what can I do for you, Mr. Classified?
And Maurice looks to Twig, eyes screaming, "Help!"
You get eyes screaming help in return.
Look,
But I think Twig like was laughing a little bit at Mr. Classified, and they we'd like to make some purchases with the vast amounts of money that we got from the Queen.
But also the free thing that the Queen promised us. So
Both of those
free things and things we can buy.
okay.
But there is also an intention of making a purchase.
Ah, yes. Well, in that case, I must refer you to my students. They're all very talented, although some of them need a little bit more work on perfecting their art than others. I myself only sell some very particular services, but let's cover what we have in store for you in stock right here. So we have on offer a couple of things, as you know, the diamond of mental shielding, and then of course we have the circlet of agency. One is an object of power, one is an ephemera that is significant for only one use. Very powerful, however. As you can see, my students did not disappoint. Well, Roderick disappointed a little bit, but he's working on it. He's doing a very good job. Unfortunately, the circlet, and he puts the monocle back to his eye, has a few defects.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't tested.
And I think at which point he takes the circlet and focuses something on the monocle as if it's got a little lens or aperture. And then, oh wow. I don't take it you mind the smell of durians at all, do you?
I personally really hate that smell. Twig, do you like the smell of durians?
I mean, like is a very strong word.
So
Can I smell it from here?
I think that you realize that whatever sensory apparatus the Sterling has affixed to his eye is what is kind of like allowing him to smell this. You are mercifully spared the scent.
Is it actually the scent of durians, or is it the metaphorical scent of something else?
It is the actual scent of durians, as if I think what is implied is that whoever wears this is suffused with the smell of it, in addition to being given some sort of mental power. So, unfortunately, as it stands now, this is not quite ready. I will take it upon myself to work with Roderick to perfect it, to hammer out the defects, but it will probably not be ready until the end of the day. However, if you'd like me to contact Talia, I can perhaps go ahead and contract her services to offer several of these diamonds. That said, it will just take a little bit of time. And of course, there is the matter of perhaps paying for additional resources, as of course, unfortunately, our resources only stretch so far here. Somebody's always working with something. I'm happy to take orders for rushes. Otherwise, we'd have to wait a while. And it is a boon. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't charge you for a boon. But, if for rush services, I would have to charge you. I hope that it's okay.
Of course. I mean, I'm not here to get in the way of your process. And Maurice looks to Twig and says, I think maybe we could all benefit if we had working circlets. And looks back to the Sterling and says, what would it take to get 4 of those?
Ooh, 4 of the circlets.
Assuming one was worth a boon.
Do they have to be a circlet?
Well, no, of course. I mean, Roderick is, of course, very talented as it pertains to accessories and objects made out of very thin metals. If there's anything you had in mind, I'm sure Roderick would be able to accommodate it. However, you would have to work with him in tandem, and that might take some time. But I think it's only a matter of a few gem coins if you wish to purchase multiple circlets. But again, takes a little bit of time. What would you be interested in? Particular, a particular shape, a particular kind of style? What kind of mental shielding would you like to have?
Twig, that's I really, a hat is a hat is a hat to me. I just like the idea of something that lasts more than one use.
Yeah. I don't suppose, if we're talking about commissioning some items.
Yes, I'm all ears. I'm always all ears when it comes to coming up with an interesting project.
Well, there are 4 of us.
Trust us. There's 2 more.
Yes.
Oh,
and
so
Duncan.
don't you mean 5? And he looks at the Duncan that has been is sniffing exploratorily around this workshop.
And I think Maurice kind of gives an overemphasized wink and says 4.5.
That's
The
not
half is the
charitable.
leader.
Oh, well, then I guess that makes it all right. Yes. What custom work did you have in mind? I must say, again, you'd have to contract with several of my students, at which point he kind of like looks up and looks at both of you. Huh. And again, focuses the monocle. Huh. Each of you is somewhat fragmented, somewhat broken.
Somewhat frozen.
Broken.
Oh,
Frozen.
Hopper's frozen.
I'm frozen in a very obnoxious.
Oh no.
I can still talk, so that means that's a thing. I can reset the thing.
So
I can turn my camera on and off again, but
so I'll tell you what. Instead, why don't we do this? Varuna Chikere adjusts the lens of his monocle, looking both of you in turn, and says, "Oh my. Each of you is broken in your own very fascinating way. Now this is a service that I can help with." And it's on that note that we're going to take our 10-minute break. Both of you have heard the Sterling refer to the two of you as broken or fragmented in some way as he looks at you through this this magical monocle that apparently he is using to focus in and out, looking at your bodies. What are you doing? What do you do in reply, I should say?
Maurice kind of sits there and lets it happen. And I think he's waiting for the Sterling to say something next.
What about you, Twig?
Twig's trying to parse exactly what all of that means. The absence of, or not the absence, but the reduction in the sense of the many different, the cascade of magical sense that was not on him earlier, combined with his statement that he has his own speciality, and this the kind of rude observation of that we're all a little broken, which is again a little bit tactless, but whatever. Twig's not exactly a bastion of politic. And I think Twig's kind of observing this strange little man.
Yeah, this kind of, I was going to say, Varuna is this kind of like slim figure who is just looking very intently at both of you. And then, like, Maurice, I think the very first thing you see is that the Sterling looks at you and says, "Now hold still." And he kind of like lurches forward, zooming the monocle, and he is looking from through the monocle into your eye. Do you fight this at all?
No, I think kind of like when you're being examined by a doctor, like you're trying, they ask you a question, you're trying to hold on conversation. So like as he's getting super close, he says, yeah, I understand that I used to be all or at least part true spider, so that might explain some of what you're seeing.
No, that's not it at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's fascinating, but there are little clean breaks in your mind. Little bits where an excision has taken place.
That also seems to make sense.
You're missing memories. Interesting, fascinating.
Yes.
Skills, moments, important things. I think I can almost make out the shape of them just from their absence. You, and then kind of just pushes Maurice to one side. And then moves to look through your eye. Twig, again, do you fight this?
Against my better judgment, no.
Okay. As he looks at you through this focusing lens, the monocle, it telescopes again. Oh, indeed. Oh, my. It's the same. The excisions are the same. They were created by whatever did this was the same between the two of you. No wonder you must have such a tight relationship. You're suffering from the same malady.
Believe it or not, that we already knew. And believe this or not, it was intentional.
Huh.
I was actually curious. Is there anything else you see through this about Twig? There are some, and Maurice kind of looks to Twig with a kind of at once quizzical but also compassionate look. Some mysteries as to the nature of my good friend here.
Well, hold on. Let me take a look. And he turns back around, and now the monocle has been affixed to a pair of very thick spectacles that are silver framed and glowing. It's almost like a blink and you miss it, as if like he procured this from some other kind of place that you didn't see, almost like sleight of hand.
Somehow this person has the combined energy of Belle's dad from Beauty and the Beast and Edna from fucking
That is
the superhero
stupidly
movies.
accurate.
Yeah, I know that is wildly, but I mean, it is a great energy nonetheless.
Incredibles? Yeah, the Incredibles.
Edna mode? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
I can remember the name of a random side character, but not the whole movie franchise.
At which point, Varuna has got these specs affixed to his face, and he's just kind of like, I think at this point, like taking you in up and down. Now, don't worry, it's a little bit of a magical field. It shouldn't cause too much damage. I mean, no damage at all. Just stand still. And he's looking at you, Twig, as you're kind of, are you standing still to the best of your ability here?
Yes. Can I, right? Can I, where is Literalum currently?
I think,
Kyrrie's
Kyrrie's got
unfortunately not
Literalum.
here.
Yeah.
Shoot, I can't.
You try to pull him out of your pocket.
I'm trying to think of how many freaking little weird little critters I got running around. I don't think there's anybody else currently in my pockets or on me.
Mm-hmm.
Or in me.
Because so Kyrrie has both Literalum and the origami crane.
Okay, excellent. And I don't think I've made any other little dribblings yet, except for
Fix up, but not here. Also,
yeah.
Not yet.
Oh, just you wait. So I think as long as Duncan isn't in the way, Twig Twig's just standing there, kind of like at this point, at the phrase, there shouldn't be too much damage, is looking askance at this strange little maker.
And I am going to turn a card for our maker. Oh my god, this is great.
Oh no.
The monarch, the sovereign of notions, cats, clocks, and wind, authority, judgment, the land, and the world. A ruler or a figure becomes involved in the matter at hand. Someone passes judgment. Someone travels between worlds or suns. My words shall dictate your actions regardless of the choices you make. All right. This is actually very interesting. Whose card is this?
I believe it's Kyrrie. No, it's
In the bag.
yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
I am Secrets, Ravens, Books, and Flames.
And I'm the
Yep.
Mysteries, Rats, Mirrors, Stone.
okay. Well, in that case, I will tell you this. Maurice, like, there is a moment, like, as you're kind of observing Varuna, observing Twig, where there's just this moment of eureka, of kind of discovery. Fascinating. Oh my. Oh, that is indeed. And at which point he kind of looks at your chest and grabs a pair of what looked to be like tong-like implements. And
I think Twig brushes the jacket to one side, exposing Fortinbras on their hip. And just kind of like very, very gently takes a step back and with the hand on the handle of this gun. Fortinbras being this big fuck off implied pistol? I don't know. It's the implication of a big revolver.
yeah, at which point, just with like either hand on this set of tongs that they're kind of like clamps or forceps, Varuna says, I'm sorry. Was that too invasive? I was going to pull apart the sides of your wound there and give you a bit of a closer look.
Maurice steps forward and says, now that happens every time you try to get close to him. And then steps in close and says, like, hey, are you okay? I really think this guy can actually help you a lot, help all of us.
I don't like when people don't touch me without asking. Like
Totally. Maurice looks back and
what
says,
exactly are you doing?
Well, I couldn't help but notice that I see as clear as day the parts of your mind that have been excised or moved, but there's also this fantastic sort of duality, or is it triumvirate, that is at work inside of you. And I couldn't help but notice the open wound doesn't seem to be causing any deleterious damage of any sort. And I was hoping that maybe I would be able to take a look, because it should be impossible that a creature such as you should be able to function without its heart, let alone what appear to be, should be 2 hearts? Both are missing. That's strange. And I'd like to learn more about that.
and Maurice takes a step back and says, I think if you could narrate your chain of thought and then ask permission for what you're about to do, I think we'll all be much happier.
Oh, well, very well. My apologies, Messer Twig. I was hoping that I could take a closer look. This would be fairly painless. No pain at all. I promise. These are very gentle. I have a very exceedingly fine touch and grasp, particularly when working with people. Is it all right if I take a closer look?
Twig suppresses a laugh at this last statement. I guess. Hang on. And shrugs off this big field jacket. I think it hits the floor with like kind of a lot more noise than a field jacket hitting the floor should. Like there's kind of like a thunk and some rattling and some like kind of maybe chittering.
It is the sound of a bowling ball going down a basement stairwell and into like a bunch of finely stored things. Like in storage, and it's just like it's the sound of like a million things falling onto the floor.
Oh, absolutely. And then kind of pops I'm kind of imagining some pretty cool quick release straps on this Armor of the 13th Hour, and just chunks that down. And you can see they're just wearing like a pretty ratty band tee that they've give me a Saturninian
A Saturninian band
equivalent.
tee equivalent. This is like it's almost like a Saturninian band. Let's call it like
okay. Can we
something
give
that
this
would
to
play
chat?
in undersling.
Can we give this to chat?
chat.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any idea?
Come up with the name of the punk band in Saturn.
A surreal punk band, and that will be what is on the t-shirt. Yeah.
So I think Twig just lifts that up and kind of scooches some of the gauze up along with it. It seems to be, this is probably a pretty old bandaging at this point, so it's pretty kind of nasty with like what appears to be a lot of dried blood, but kind of looks more like ink.
And I think that as you kind of like stand there, a small kind of blade flicks out from between the thumb and the forefinger of Varuna. It's very tiny. It's a small kind of like scalpel almost, it looks like. And just says, now I'm going to cut the bandage. Okay?
Go ahead.
And just in one fell swoop, just incredibly gracefully, the bandage falls to one side, at which point the blade is once again gone. Also, the punk band, thank you, Octopus Totem, is the Roach Goblins, which is
amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. So the blade gets disappeared from between the thumb and the forefinger, and once again, the forceps are back in his hand, and now I'm going to peel this open to get a closer look. You shouldn't feel but a moment of minor discomfort. And at which point the forceps pull open the cavity in your chest. And then as Varuna lets go, the forceps hang there in the air, and the Sterling leans forward and begins looking into the cavity. Oh my. The ventricular system is so interesting. It's fascinating. It seems to have been adapted. Powerful magic at work here. Powerful sorcery. It seems like this form was repurposed, not too dissimilar from that of a standard Vizsla, but it's absent of some of the change that a Vizsla would undergo over time. Often, when a Vizsla ages, they tend to take on interesting forms that are unique to their interests and their physiology. Like, what is it? Some people, their entire body becomes paper and wreathed in words. Some people become stonework. Others part plant, and some even photosynthesize. But this is interesting. This body is hundreds, if not thousands of years old, and yet it seems to have aged as if it were a young Vizsla mortal. And yet its ventricular, the cardiac system, has been changed as well to accommodate two hearts. This is, dare I say, a fascinating attempt of artifice. Thank you for letting me take a look. If you'd like, I can maybe forge an artificial heart to better boost your own kind of sense of well-being there. However, I must say there's been a ridiculous amount of psychic damage that's been done fairly recently as well. I take it Are you in a great deal of pain?
Oh, constantly.
Okay. Good to know.
Psychic damage, though?
Well, it's from a psychic source that has somehow rendered you much less hearty than you would normally be. It's very recent, and yet the power of it is profound.
You literally watch Twig open their mouth and then think, and then open their mouth and then think. Just kind of whisper something to Maurice. What exactly did Okris do?
You'll have to be more specific.
What? The damage. What's the damage from?
I don't know. No offense, but you've gone through a lot. Could be a lot of things.
Yeah, it's been like a shitty month.
Yeah.
This is very clearly I'd say this is the equivalent of a curse, but it's not a curse. It's just like fallout. It's insane.
Thematically, I'm totally picturing Twig and Maurice like leaning in together and kind of talking very quietly, and then this little fucker popping up like just being like thematically.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, this is a fun game. Are we whispering now? Should I whisper? But yes, there's been a great deal of damage. Now, the thing that is beyond my ability to fix. Whatever wanted to do the damage to you has done it. But as it stands, your form is deteriorating at a very slow rate.
Isn't
slow.
that true for everybody, kind of?
Yes, but somewhat faster than it would be if you perhaps would be, if you had your heart, it would not be deteriorating nearly as fastly. You would still be mortal, I assume.
So I'm dying at an accelerated rate.
Yes, that is what I meant to say. But you are dying at an accelerated rate. However, if I could perhaps give you an artificial heart. Now, it would not necessarily remediate the entire situation, but it would give you ostensibly a great deal more time. Without it, I'd say you have at most a year, maybe 6 months. I'm sorry, that is news that I should have been a lot more delicate with.
Well, if it'll make me feel better, I'll take the emotional support heart. How much will that cost?
Well,
What do you want?
in all honesty, maybe I'd say about 3 mage coins at the very minimum, and then maybe 50 to 100 crystal orbs for extra materials. Let's say 50. You're doing me a great service by letting me look inside. I'm sorry, is that okay?
I think Twig absolutely in this moment kind of is thinking very hard about something, or is trying very hard not to say something, and just says, yeah, you're totally right. I don't let a lot of people inside me.
It's all right. I'm an expert. So, yes, I can certainly do that. But the thing that before I saw that, I was going to offer my services. I can patch together some of your memories if that is something that would be of interest to you, unless you got rid of those bad ones for a purpose. Perhaps there are some skills that you wish to relearn. Anything is possible, as I can very clearly see their absence, and I can reform them. They will be a little bit finicky once they're reformed, but shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Will they be accurate?
A little bit.
They will be accurate insofar as maybe a few small specifics or details will be missing, but otherwise, yes. That would be, they would be as accurate as anybody could make them, and I've made great deal of work.
How much is missing? If you can quantify the memories, you can quantify the memories, right?
Yes, to some degree. I would say for you, it's been several decades are missing, perhaps more than one, less than two. And you realize that he spins to look at you, Maurice. I would say it's actually a similar amount of time, barely perhaps weeks or days between the two fractures. Huh.
Makes sense. Twigg, are you worried about something else?
I don't know.
But yes, this is a service that I can provide. Unfortunately, they don't come cheap, as many of the materials that I use are expired or used in the process. But I'm happy to do everything to the best of my ability. Yes, is this something I can offer you?
How long would it take?
Well, I imagine the better part of a day or two for the procedure. Now, obviously, there's going to be a bit of a recovery time. It's not exactly an outpatient procedure, but the recovery time is fairly quick. It's less time than you would spend recovering from, say, going to the changeries, but it's not an insignificant amount of time, perhaps just 1, 2, 3 days at the most. You just would have to do a very light amount of activity, and as I understand, you have several quarters on the grounds here with which you can recover.
I think Maurice is kind of staring off into the distance, lost in thought at this moment.
Why don't we get back to you on that?
Oh, yes, certainly. I am always here in the forge, so I'm happy to meet again in the future. I may be teaching courses, at which point I would encourage you to come earlier rather than later.
Twigg holds out their hand.
And he grasps it up. Is this a game? Another game we're playing?
I'm trying to give you money. Why are you holding my hand?
And he lets go of your hand and kind of cups both hands together.
And Twigg drops 3 mage coins into his hands.
Excellent. I presume then this is for the heart.
Not dying is good. The cool beans.
For your use, I will have it expedited. I hope to give it to you by the end of tomorrow.
Could we also provide a down payment for the remainder of the bulk order of circlets? Or Twigg, do you think we should get something other than circlets? I'm fine with hats.
I don't like hats. Makes my hair messy.
Well, if you wish to report to Roderick any customizations you would like, I can certainly take a down payment of 3 mage coins and or crystal orbs. We're not very particular here. Happy to be of service. Of course, the crystal orbs would be in the order of 10 gem orbs or 100 crystal orbs per circlet.
3 mage coins per circlet?
No. 1 mage coin per circlet, but you are getting the 1 for free, so I'm only asking for 3 mage coins. Sorry,
Twigg drops 3 more into his hands.
Am I going too fast again? I apologize.
No, it's nice to listen to an expert.
I
Not every
find
day you have somebody root around in your chest.
this is fair. Anyhow, yes, I will go ahead and get to work. You can leave your customizations with Roderick, and he will work to perfect the circlets for you. In the meantime, I'm also happy to give you this diamond of mental shielding if you would like. Call it a bit of a bonus, and my gratitude for saving my forge.
Maurice takes it, I think, because you can't hold more than 3 things. One of his incantations, quenching thirst in an empty sea, your sorcery pool is fully refreshed. Just happens. And he takes the diamond.
Excellent. Yes. Let me know how you feel about the memories that you wish to restore or what you would like to change. I am happy to acquiesce however I can. And as I said, I'm always here.
You've been very helpful.
And if you can think of anybody else that would like my services, I offer a wide range. It is my keenest interest to perfect the people that walk into my workshop, my students, my colleagues, and also when the time strikes, my customers, as it were, if that is indeed what you are. It's my pleasure, honestly.
What a life to pursue a work that could never be finished.
Exactly my sentiments.
You'll be seeing more of us, I'm sure.
I look forward to it. Thank you. I should attend to my students once again.
Maurice walks over and picks up the coat. How heavy is it?
It doesn't actually weigh any more than a normal coat.
It makes a couple jingling and crunkling noises, and Maurice holds it out for Twig to put their arms in it.
Twig puts the armor of the 13th hour back on, clamps it on the sides, and then allows Maurice to help them into this coat.
We turn and walk a bit, and Maurice says, "That was interesting. I thought those memories were gone.
I mean, it definitely makes a certain amount of sense. If you take a brick out of a wall, you can still see that the brick was there.
But if you replace it with what you think the brick was, not what it actually was, I worry about the sense of certainty that I'll feel getting back something that I can't verify. I also wonder, I have this game that I'm playing with whatever past version of myself, trying to think about, like I'm playing Spider's Chess, why I did what I did. And part of me thinks that if the memories were returned, that might have screwed something up. But God, I want him. I want him real bad.
Well,
Also, sorry, imagining like we're walking through this thing, so we're actually having to shout this conversation to be heard over the clanging and
yeah. Oh, I love that. Love
yeah.
that. Well, yeah, and Twig's like just kind of like yelling back. I can always take them back out.
What I want
A
you
bit
to.
messily.
What's that like for you anyway? Is it like eating a book?
Well, I don't know how to describe it. How do you describe how your knuckles pop? It's not natural, but it's not like breathing, but it's, how do you know how to throw a rock or a ball?
Does it feel good or right?
It doesn't feel good.
Well,
I think right's subjective.
whatever subjective feeling that is, I trust that you'll let that guide our choice when the time comes.
You can do it the slow way, and I can just make you throw it up bit by bit.
I really do enjoy hanging out with you. What was his name again? Roderick? That's him.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a fucking circlet. What's this, a fucking cone? Do I look like Conan the Barbarian?
I mean, do you want me to tell you what I think you look like? Roderick!
Yes.
Love the circlets. Really gonna do well, except the circlet part. Wondering what kind of options we might have here for other, maybe it could be other, like Julia, looking at Twig, the bracelet.
I can certainly work with a bracelet. You have to understand that the proximity to the mind is the most helpful thing. Perhaps, maybe
We
some.
hear you.
Oh wait, you can't hear me?
No, I said we hear you.
Okay.
I was being punny, Zach. God damn it. Or Twig was being punny. I'm a monster. Yeah.
Yeah. At which point, yes. In which case, I would recommend maybe something to adorn either your ears, the back of your head, perhaps a headdress of some sort, or a necklace or a back piece. I can certainly, or even maybe a gorget. Do people do gorgets with the only piece of armor? Might be interesting. What do you think?
Could you put it inside someone?
I can certainly try. I might need to enlist the Sterling's help, though. I'm very new to the Atelier.
What'd you have in mind, Twig?
Sometimes it's useful to have stuff that nobody else knows about.
That's true.
Like a pocket brick. And Twig pulls a half brick out of their pocket, which I think is weirdly familiar to Maurice.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Maurice nods, says, "Oh, that's true. I somehow doubt that would be what Kyrrie and Gav would like."
And as this conversation unfolds, I'm going to cut now to Kyrrie. You guys can fulfill to your heart's content the details of your order with Roderick and the Sterling. But in the meantime, Kyrrie, you've just had this very tense and yet at the same time very kind of cathartic, perhaps, conversation with Queen Frageliva. What's going through your mind? What are you doing?
I think certainly later in the afternoon, she had planned to meet the other two back once they had finished their errands. So I think she kind of heads back up to their rooms post this conversation, partially because she doesn't really know where else to go. I think, even with the whole city at her disposal, she kind of is still processing this conversation. She hasn't really, I think she doesn't really understand what she did. She just knows it worked. And in part, that's because she is not great at understanding emotion or how to get through to people. But I think this is probably like the first time for Kyrrie that she's actually been able to push someone enough to make a breakthrough. And so I think she's sitting with that, because this is an area of quote unquote expertise that she's always felt is very alien to her. She feels like actually she understands Queen Frageliva, and that is more than anything else why she reached out, because I think there was for her a kind of, I've been here, I know this feeling, I know when duty kind of takes over and you become that duty, what that's like. And so I think Kyrrie was not trying really to get through to Queen Frageliva so much as she was trying to relate to her. And that, I think, produced a result Kyrrie didn't really expect. So she's kind of sitting with that and sort of thinking through, how did I do that? And also I have a friend now who has, a very powerful friend who has called herself such, and to sort of see this duality within this figure, I think has given Kyrrie a lot to think about.
And I think that, you're taking stock of all this in the quarters, unless you have taken it upon yourself to go elsewhere. And I think that the quarters here, without Kyrrie, without Gavriel, without Twig and Maurice, they're a little bit spare, a little bit stark. And the only thing that, now kind of, tell me, when you kind of rest, how do you lay out your implements, your tools, the things that you've kind of gathered with you on your travels here?
I mean, certainly a lot of the places, I guess the accommodation in some respects kind of molds to what is needed. I mean, Kyrrie has accumulated a lot of different things. I think she's got several curse daggers now, so they're kind of lined up in straight rows. She's got 2 from the cube curse daggers, and she has 1 back from Aliaska and the gate in the bank in the Marquis Quarter. And so like they're sort of, like all 3 in a row, very lined up. In fact, she probably has a pouch for them that now it's like her curse dagger pouch. She has her mirrored sortier, which I think also is kind of goes next to them, being very similar objects. And she's got a circlet, actually, that, she also got from the bank. She lays that out next to the sortier and the curse daggers. And I think, too, probably pride of place among this display are sort of these 2 objects that contain souls. One of which is the locket that contains the soul of the Viscountess Aldringham from that particular heist. And the other being the wicked key that contains Ardeno's soul. And those 2 objects she keeps close to her at all times, and she only sort of ever takes them off to go to bed or when she's sort of wanting to parse through something. And so they kind of go in the center of this display of items if she's like thinking through something or if she's wanting to kind of mull over what she has.
And I think, you've got all of these things laid out, and I think the thing that is striking is the thing that used to occupy a place of pride. Where is Zaleska's grimoire in all of this?
Zaleska's grimoire doesn't leave her side. It's holstered at her hip. And it's only something she ever takes out to kind of communicate with or have a conversation with, which, to be fair, she hasn't really done in a long time. Not at least since that nearly disastrous episode by the fireplace. I think she hasn't really, she's been kind of afraid to engage with it again since then, because I think she scared herself a little bit that she got that close to doing something so horrible.
So you're kind of collecting yourself. You are seeing, think that this figure, perhaps even your own capabilities, in a new light. What do you do in this time? Do you wait for the others to come?
I think that's what Kyrrie will do or would do. I think unless something else intervenes, she maybe passes this time by. So she also, one of the things she has is the blank illuminated manuscript that Twigg ate. And I think with all of these thoughts embroiled within her and like not quite knowing how to process all of them, and with no one to kind of talk to process them with, I think what we see is Kyrrie at a desk in her room contemplating this kind of blank once illuminated manuscript. And I think we see her pick up a pen and start to write on the blank page.
Is there anything that, and I'll go ahead and I'll turn a card here. The card I've turned is Lucky Coin. It strengthens silver and it weakens gold. Meanings are good fortune, wealth, freedom, unexpected luck, and unstructured. We put a lot of value in objects. We place a lot of importance in their presence in our lives. Some people might have a favorite shirt, a trusty handkerchief, or of course, a lucky coin. Armed with a talisman such as this, no harm can befall us, but we only barely understand the truth of such things. The luck they bring, if they work, never comes in an expected form. Something good is coming. It's likely nothing one planned on or was expecting, and it can come in many forms: success, money, or the elimination of a problem. The lucky coin is a positive card turn and suggests that the person in question has perhaps less structure weighing upon them than they thought. Fewer strings for the marionette, so to speak. They are more free than they believed, free to act and do as they please. If you find a good luck charm, hang on to it. They're rarer than you'd think. So I think this is a, once again, mystifyingly good card turn. And so I ask you, what do you write based on that card turn? What entry immediately comes to mind as you take this stock?
I think for once, Kyrrie is writing stream of consciousness. It's very much like a journal entry, not something that Kyrrie's ever found much use for, the act of journaling or having a diary. I think it's something she remembers in the gray, others in her social circle would do and would talk about, like, oh, my diary, I confide all my secrets to it. But like, she's always seen that as kind of silly, because as an academic, she's sort of like, why would you do that unless you want to kind of do a psychological study of yourself, which obviously you shouldn't need to if you know yourself well enough. But I think there is like a kind of catharsis that this awakens in Kyrrie, not intentionally, but that like she had this interaction with feeling and emotion that like actually worked for once. And so I think that's what goes in this entry, is sort of a processing of that experience, as well as the details of what Frageliva told her. And I think too, one of the things she confides to this book on its page is, I think, a fear that she's promised too much, that now the queen, this human piece of the queen that she managed to see amid this very powerful, commanding being, has hope, and that's a very fear-inducing thing, that she gave this human creature hope, and that maybe she's not going to be equal to it. And I think that's the tenor of the entry that she's writing.
As you reflect on this, on the idea of hope, there is an insight that from the commonality in this expression, this exchange that you had with Queen Frageliva, you realize that before Zaleska shattered, before you found yourself unceremoniously exiting the war report, that same look that fell on her face that for that moment is something that is not dissimilar from what you saw in the Queen. Perhaps it was a look of hope that you exchanged with her before she left for the Pale. And I think it's at this moment that Twigg and Maurice return, having spent all of this time working within this journal, working, stream of consciousness. You barely hear them come in. What is it that one of you or both of you say that stirs her from this reverie?
I vote it's Duncan.
Okay. At which point you just hear a muffled barking through the door. Home! Almost home! Almost home! Right now! Almost home!
Kyrrie looks
right,
up and
buddy.
laughs. It's like they don't even need to announce themselves. Duncan does it for them.
And
Hopper, do you have any idea what the other things we commissioned are?
I have literally been looking this up. I guess presuming I think Twigg would have asked for something specific to the gray for Gav.
Mhm.
And I think for Kyrrie, I think the argument is this is my pitch, and I think this would have been a Maurice. Maurice would have chimed in on this for sure. would have been like some sort of hair, like the comb, the kind of decorative comb type.
I love that. I love that. I think I think
specifically for Gav though, Soviet style dog tags, which were just little bakelite cylinders with something written on the inside in a slip of paper. I think that something that is kind of a much more sturdy version of that for
Cool.
Gav.
I'm into it. So I think Maurice and Twigg kind of bust through the door, and Duncan starts running, and I think Maurice says, "Okay, now let's find that same spot, and you can go to the bathroom there, and then we'll just avoid that spot."
Okay. And just, again, the happy borking, and just say, I don't know what that means, but I'm glad I'm here.
Me too. I love you.
I love you.
Kyrrie, interesting news.
Oh, I think she closes the journal and kind of like slips it into a drawer and then exits her room.
Maurice goes and sets the valise down on like a coffee table kind of thing, and has a seat and puts his feet up and says, "So this Sterling character, first of all, going to deliver in spades exactly what we asked for and a little bit more. On the table is getting our memories back.
Oh,
He could see the absences that they left behind, the shapes of it, and feels pretty confident he could return most of what we lost, maybe even mostly accurate."
I think, well, it's one thing for I don't know much about this person, but medical professional, scientist, to be able to diagnose something and to see that something is missing. It is another thing entirely to re-engineer it. I'm not sure I would trust the impression of a memory left behind in the empty space in our minds.
I share your concern. I was telling Twigg, maybe we're meant to, maybe I meant for us not to remember, but just the opposite. Maybe we could save ourselves running across the actuality, searching for clues. Maybe we could skip to the part where we know what we need to do.
Maurice, in my experience, there are no cheat codes in the universe, or if there are, they come at cost. I don't know that we want to take a particular cheat. I think it's maybe worthwhile that we go on the journey. I mean, after all, we know these memories exist somewhere, and, well, we hope we do. And knowing you, knowing what I know about you now, I don't think those memories are something you would have disposed of. Not if you found them important enough for us to remove. That leads me to believe logically it's a question of finding them, not a question of whether they exist.
But if I meant for us to find them, and the Sterling can give us that.
But those aren't original. They are copies at best. They are artificial, engineered, not authentic or organic.
But wouldn't anybody that went to the Gray, can't you say the same about any of them?
Their memories come back to them. Most of them, right? She looks to Maurice.
How do you know that those are their original memories?
Knowledge is a funny thing.
It's interesting, though. They don't go to someone who restores their memories. Whether or not they are their original memories, something comes back to them. It just didn't happen for us. And it sounds like that was intentional. Someone's intention, anyway.
I'd have thought you'd been into the idea of bespoke memories.
Not if they aren't mine. Not really. It's one thing if an artificial replacement serves a function, a purpose. It's another if it starts to have access to your consciousness. After all, the mind is a very tricky place, tricky thing. And sometimes a pathway once opened in one direction opens in the other. I'm not sure I would think it worth the risk.
Trust of the Sterling and his methods aside, there is nothing natural about what happened to us. Our memories were ripped up at the root. The breaks were violent and jagged. There's nothing noble to me about following breadcrumbs to pick up whatever half-brained, knowing myself method that I was going to restore these to us. I just don't think we should dismiss it out of hand. And frankly, and he kind of nudges the bag with his toe, I think it's a decision we should all make together.
After nudging the bag, the lid flips up and
Maurice hops to his feet. All right, something's wrong.
Kyrrie, I need your help. I have found a library. You hear Gavrielle say excitedly from the bag.
I think Kyrrie sees the kind of the slow smirk on Twig's face at that statement.
What do you do?
I think you see Kyrrie's eyes light up. You have found a library. Well, that is a development.
Is everything okay in this library?
I think that there are some texts that maybe Kyrrie might be able to help me with, but suffice to say, I have a few things down here that might be useful to us.
So you're not in immediate danger, which is what the bag opening by itself was. We agreed that that's what that would mean.
Oh, no.
Gav,
I am no danger. If anything, you will be very surprised by some of the things that I have put in here.
Okay, but like next time the bag opens by itself, we agree that it's because there's danger, right?
It didn't open by itself. I pushed it. And you just hear the voice echoing down still, as if kind of like she forced it open with magic, but she's still some distance away from the kind of like the aperture.
And Maurice just kind of puts his hand to his forehead and starts pacing around like, I swear.
And it's on
10 o'clock. Do you know where your Gav is?
And as we all ponder the importance of true memory versus that which has been reassembled for us, and the importance and the virtue of kindness and friendship and missing hearts and the things that we find along the way, it is here we are going to end our session for tonight. So, thank you guys for joining us, for tuning in. I'm so grateful that you guys got a chance to enjoy this kind of episode of Downtime for a change. I think it was downtime. It was definitely a shopping trip. But before we end for tonight, there's a couple of our normal rituals. Let's go ahead and go. Maurice, joy, despair, character arcs.
I think even though lots of good stuff happened, I think Maurice is going to take a point of despair. I think in addition to kind of caught in this quandary of, what decision should he make about the memories, feeling a little bit shown up by the Sterling that there has always been magic strong enough to see this, to repair it. He starts spiraling, wondering, if this exists, was removing the memories in the first place even good enough? And kind of doubting both his current and past selves.
So, take 1 despair and take 1 acumen also for your work in kind of meeting the Sterling and requisitioning these works for your benefit. Moving over to the overlay, Twig, joy, despair, character arcs.
Honestly, no character arcs. I don't think this qualifies as. I mean, I think there's some information gained, but not like a substantive amount. I think Twig feels overall positive about this. There was generally nobody tried to murder them. Nobody tried to steal their memories. Nobody tried, like, there was no real conflict. It was just the troubling realities of life and accelerated death.
Absolutely.
So I'm a solid neutral.
Okay, well.
Back to you, Zach.
Well.
With the weather.
We can't leave you wanting here. Which would you rather have? Or would you like to take a point of acumen instead?
I think being depressed about, I think the death thing, and I think the player, I'm still emotionally processing the triumvirate thing. So I'm going to say despair.
Okay.
Of the two.
Excellent.
Light despair.
A little bit of light despair.
An appetizer of despair.
Excellent. So take 1 despair and then take 1 acumen for posing this kind of like philosophical question to Kyrrie and to Maurice. Finally, Kyrrie, joy, despair, character arcs.
Yeah, I think Kyrrie gets a joy here pretty non-equivocally. I think she managed to do something she didn't think she was capable of, which is interesting to her and kind of opens a new door, I think, in terms of her own processing of what she experiences, because I think there was a lot of truth in what she said to Frageliva, but also truth that I think Kyrrie maybe hasn't herself internalized. And I think sometimes it takes saying it to another person who is struggling with something to kind of realize that you might benefit from taking your own advice occasionally. So I think like Kyrrie's start of her journaling kind of feels like the beginning of something. I think it's not anything she kind of knows quite what she's doing with yet, but I think her recording her thoughts is like very new for her. This is not something she's ever felt she kind of has to do or has had to do before. So I think all in all, kind of perhaps being, one of Queen Frageliva's only friends, and also kind of that breakthrough in herself, I think that totals to joy. Although I think there is a hint of despair around that kind of doubt and uncertainty of whether or not she can actually pull off the thing she's promised.
Okay. So one thing, I know that this is not something that I would typically do, but fact of the matter is that I jumped the gun a little bit on our session tonight, ending a little bit early. But at the same time, unfortunately, Marissa's not going to be joining us next week, or next session, I should say. We will still have Marcy coming back, but we will be down 1 Marissa. And then that being the case, would you guys like to have this one last scene, perhaps between Kyrrie and Twig?
I would like to alter the possibility of that scene, and I would like to suggest that we cinematically describe the awkward body language.
All right. So I'm going to put these tunes back on.
Haha, that's right. A post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene. So you guys describe this for me.
I'm picturing so Twig is specifically sitting at a table, or probably lounged very aggressively, and like for whatever reason I'm picturing this place as being kind of like neo-modern Regency, somehow. And just in like a big fuck off armchair, and it's just kind of thinking about the figure in the woods, and the fact that whatever that reflection is, or it winked at them, and that Kyrrie saw that, but Kyrrie's also been fucking weird about mirrors and reflections later. And I think so I think there's absolutely, we see Twig kind of, is there any mirrors in this space in our little shared apartments in our suite?
Allow me to turn a card.
Oh great, I hate that.
Hey, you're the one that
Sorry, I asked.
The ghostly presence. Mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. It strengthens pale magic and it weakens green. The past, guilt, unresolved issues. We all have our ghosts. They haunt us, both metaphorically and, of course, literally. We can become weighed down by our past sins, our unrequited feelings, our unresolved issues. As humans, we crave closure. But is such a thing ever truly possible? The ghostly presence suggests that it is not. There is always something from our past that will arise later to remind us of the wrongs long ago. Do you remember? Do you remember what you did? I do. So, Twig, this is something that when you look at it, you barely register that it's there, or barely register that it shouldn't be there. And of course, Kyrrie, you acknowledge it straight away. Somehow, during the time in which you were writing this stream of consciousness, even in your exuberance, even in this kind of like catharsis, you see opposite of you, behind Twig, over their shoulder, you see a shoulder height mirror. Twig, did you want to continue?
Oh, I think this is just kind of, I'm just setting the body language tonal. I think can Twig see Kyrrie?
I'm assuming yes.
Does Twig see the Twig clearly sees the mirror?
Twig, I think it's behind you. I think Kyrrie sees it.
I hate that so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Twig is just kind of like, just lounging and just kind of pondering.
I think Kyrrie, her eyes go slightly wide. She's very much like kitted out with all of her like scholar linguist's gear, preparing to descend into the valise to aid Gav's call for investigating the library. Zach, answer me this. What does Twig's reflection look like in the mirror?
You can see their back very clearly. Nothing seems to be untoward. The garb is very similar. However, I'd like you to make me a perception roll, please.
100%. That's an 8 and a 5.
Okay. So, I take it you are spending sortilege every time you're
Correct.
rolling.
That is, yes, with the second die.
Cool. As you look at the mirror, you see your reflection staring back at you, and then you see it look very almost pleadingly at you. As if in a warning.
And Twig's reflection, does it do anything? Or it just stays still?
Stays still. Stays in the position that Twig is moving. It sinks automatically.
What is the color of Twig's hair in the reflection in the mirror?
It's the same color that they have staring at you now.
Okay. think Kyrrie looks at Twig. I'm gonna go talk to Gav, but can I ask a favor?
Yeah. What's up?
If you see any mirrors, don't look into them. Cover them up, or just don't look into them, okay?
I think you see a moment where Twig, there's a twist in their face where they're about to argue or really ask questions, but then kind of realize that there's not really any good way to broach the subject, and just, I can do that.
Promise?
Mhm.
Could, I promise. Yeah.
As you hear that promise made in return, you once again, your eyes, I think, flick to the mirror, and that figure of you looking back at it is looking again at you, and its eyes are looking at you in that same pleading expression, but there's also this kind of searching apprehension there, just like almost as if to say, why would you tell them anything? And that is the end of our post-credits scene as you make your way into the valise.
So stressful.
Okay, now this is where we're actually ending the episode. I will do some
Despair all around.
We're gonna edit the this to switcheroo here to match. But the other thing I will say is let's go ahead and do our last minute shout outs and plugs. So once again, Bill, shout outs and plugs for this week.
So normally when Marcy's doing her shout outs and plugs, I think about, oh yeah, what do I want to shout out and plug? And here I am just forced to just do it. So I'd like to plug Jeff Stormer, many projects, including Party of One, All My Fantasy Children, and the official Olive Garden LARP. There is, I think, still going on, maybe in the last days, maybe just ended, the Yezeba's Bed and Breakfast, of which Jeff Stormer produced a actual play. Definitely check that out. Would also like to plug Some More News with Cody Johnston. It's the only news show, so check that out. That's it for me.
Awesome. Hopper, shout outs and plugs.
Yeah. You should check out all the other great fucking shows here on this here channel. We got Pathfinder, we got Starfinder, we got other stuff I don't remember, and we've got Flights of Fandom, which I am frequently on, along with Zach and Marissa as well. Someday we'll bully Bill into being in one. And in addition to that, gratuitous self plug. Come check out, keep an eyeball on the Legend Tree Twitch. I got some stuff coming up. I've got a home friend game we're promoting to the big leagues. That's definitely not incredibly menacing and full of good people. Well, decent people being utter bastards. And we have also got a long form playthrough of the Gloomhaven thing going on, and more to come soon.
Awesome.
That's over on the Legend Tree, which is the _legend_tree at twitch.tv.
Awesome. Marissa, shout outs and plugs.
Yeah, well, as you may know, speaking of Flights of Fandom, I have been this month running the Flights of Fandom Bridgerton Dearest Reader flight, which is going to have its finale on this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to see at least where we land or pause or resolve maybe some of this drama, join us then and there for all of the juicy tidbits and see what we populate Lady Whistledown's scandal sheet with next. I think it probably comes as no surprise as we have fallen in love with all of these characters. And so where this was designed to be a 4-part flight, we maybe don't want to see the end of them. So, tune in for future news, potentially about future seasons of this game, which I would be delighted to run should the players want to return. So yeah, come check us out for at least our first flight season finale, and maybe stick around and see what we decide to do from there.
Can't wait.
Cue the on Eric Andre, let me in.
And for my own part, guys, I am going to go ahead and plug Angel Citadel Gaming, who are some friends of the show. I believe Josh is actually in the chat here. So guys, check them out. They typically do a pretty regular video gaming session. I believe it's every Friday. They also are responsible for The Soul's Direction, a fantastic actual play of our sister actual play of Invisible Sun that they are running. That is awesome. So check that out on the Sundays when we're not playing. And then in addition to that, I know that they're doing their typically kind of like Angel Citadel Lounge every, if not every Sunday, then every other Sunday as well. So guys, check that out. That's a lot of fun. In terms of other shout outs, big shout out to Chloe Sabel, who is actually one of the fellow creators of some really fantastic game stuff for Onyx Path and others, who is a cast member of our current flight at Flights of Fandom right now for the Good Society Bridgerton flight. In addition, also check out the work by David Brunel Brutman at dbb8-itch.io. So check that out. He does some fantastic games, including one of the engines that drives a lot of the Flights of Fandom flights, In the Dark. So check all that stuff out. But in the meantime, when you're not doing that, make sure to take care of each other. To take care of yourselves. Lots of crazy stuff's going on. Try to show your best, if you can, support trans rights in Texas, as well as ongoing war in Ukraine with Russia. Try to kind of provide help wherever you can. We have more work that we're still doing on that I will get into y'all's hands when I get the opportunity. But in the meantime, do all that, take care of each other, and most importantly, may the invisible sun shine on you all. Thanks again, guys, and good night.